experience in the field of accountancy and management. He is a senior manager, CFO Enterprise Value, Accenture, London, UK. Our next speaker is Mr. Bhargav Rani. He is a researcher in theater and performance at the Graduate Center, City University of New York, United States. He is writing a cultural history of Banaras and Banarsi fun from the 19th century to the present. Last but not the least, Mr. Amit Singh is a human rights researcher and presently doing his research from Center for Social Studies, University of Coimbra, Lisbon, Portugal. We heartily welcome you all, sir. First, to begin our session, let me first invite Ambassador Sajjan Har.
Well, thank you very much, Gaurav, first of all, for this invitation to come and speak with your scholars and faculty on this very important subject. And also thank you for this generous introduction. Let me also thank Professor Jha for his opening remarks and introductory remarks. I would like to congratulate you and your colleagues, your team, for choosing this very important subject, particularly in these times, particularly since it is very relevant in the time of the lockdown. Now, you have identified the time of this seminar from 4 to 5, and we have a list of a long list of eminent panelists and speakers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak briefly, address myself basically to the issue of social media, because Professor Jha has spoken to at some length on the mass media, the role of mass media, and the challenges and also its strengths. But as far as social media is concerned, I think as far as students and faculty, the young citizenry of the country is concerned, I think it is particularly relevant for them. So I will just flag a few issues. I'll take about 7 minutes or so, because definitely I'd like to hear what the other speakers have to say, and maybe you would also like a few minutes for discussion with the participants. So first, as far as social media is concerned, it is not something very old. It is not definitely as old as the mass media of television, print media, newspapers, etc. It is much more recent, but it has become a very powerful instrument. It has become a very powerful tool, because when it is television, it is always the news presenters who are presenting information or views or opinion. Similar is the case with the newspapers or other types of magazines or journals. But as far as social media is concerned, it has provided a huge power and strength and authority to the common people, to the common citizenry. Of course, this can also be used by the establishment, by the government, by the powers that be. But the most important thing, I think, what it has done is it has provided great strength to the people. And we have seen around the world, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Instagram, or more recently Twitter and TikTok, or even more recent time, the live.com or Bigo. These are the video streaming platforms that have become rather popular. And they have become popular during the time of lockdown for a variety of reasons. Basically, people would go out, they would spend time in traffic, they would spend time in office. They're not doing anything of that. So there is a lot of time that is available with the people, and for a variety of to fulfill a variety of needs, whether it is in terms of getting news, you get it quickly, you go to Twitter, you go to the websites of the different newspapers or other journals. For instance, we live in Greater Noida. And since the time the lockdown started at the end of March, we have not been receiving newspapers. So then social media is, of course, your one door entry. as far as getting access to all the newspapers and all opinion pieces, editorials, etc. are concerned. Other is in terms of entertainment. Other is in terms of education. We use these days, schools, colleges are closed. Social media is used to transmit information, transmit data. Of course, what I have personally found in this recent time is that YouTube has always been there, but I have rediscovered, in fact, I have personally, from personal experience, I can say that I'm rediscovering a large number of elements from the social media which can prove to be extremely useful. We have also seen that the government, particularly the Prime Minister himself, has used the instrumentality of the social media to reach out to people. You know, all his messages, etc. When he is speaking either on the television or otherwise, on social media particularly, they are streaming and they are becoming, all these issues are becoming viral. I'm sorry, I'm using the word viral. Virus is a very pleasant word in these times, but I'm sure all of you understand what I mean, that, you know, they really get transmitted very, very quickly. Now, of course, as they say, all dark clouds have a silver lining. Here we have a very bright cloud as far as the social media is concerned, because it provides a great deal of power and strength to the ordinary people, to the common citizen, to the common man. We've seen that how social media has been able to initiate even revolutions. The Arab Spring that started in Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, Egypt, and all other places, they all started on the basis of the social media getting people together. So this is a bright instrument. It's a bright power. I at times have equated it with something like nuclear energy, nuclear reaction. When you use it for positive things, the impact is very, very good, is very happy, is very positive. But if you use it, the same nuclear reaction for a nuclear bomb, then of course it can be extremely harmful. And similar is the case as far as social media is concerned, that it can be used to spread fake news. We have seen that. And that is a big challenge that India faces today in terms of having social harmony, social accord. This, I think, is one of the biggest challenges that confronts not only India, but the humanity. We have seen very recently how social media has been used by our Western neighbor, that is Pakistan, to put in fake news in West Asia, in Gulf countries, and try to sow dissensions between those countries and India. Also, many of the Pakistani agents have been trying to spread fake news by putting these social media interviews, social media, putting tweets, putting on fake news on TikTok, so that there is discord between different communities in India. I think all of us need to be alert, need to be alive, and need to ensure that when we have that power of social media, we should exercise it with restraint and responsibility. We should not become party to spreading fake news. On the other hand, we should try to do everything possible to maintain social amity and accord, and ensuring social harmony as we move forward. The last point that I want to make is what Professor P.N. Jha mentioned as to what is the future as we move forward from here. And I would say, for your consideration, that the manner in which India has handled this pandemic, this catastrophe, I think is very commendable. A 1.3 billion, 130 crore population. Our healthcare is not comparable to many countries in the West who have been having so much of problems. Out of the 3 million positive cases so far, more than 1 million, one third are in the United States. More than 100,000 deaths have taken place in the United States. So I think there are countries which are much more developed. Spain, Italy, France, Germany, UK, Sweden, all of them have had many more positive cases, many more deaths. India has dealt with it strategically, and we've handled it well. The Prime Minister has been communicating not only with the chief ministers of different states. He's had four sets of interactions with the chief ministers. He has interacted with different segment and strata of society, whether it is farmers, NGOs, media, and others. And so he's trying to provide that leadership, and he's been successful. I was just reading before this meeting started that out of the 10 world leaders, the ranking of this has been done, this is a assessment that has been done by a US company. The standing of Prime Minister Modi is highest in the range of about 80%. So both at the domestic level as well as at the global level, because he initiated the SARC conference. He also got in touch with the Saudi Crown Prince and organized, exhorted them to hold the G20 meeting. And over the last month or so, Prime Minister Modi has interacted with more than 24 world leaders, including President Trump, Macron, Angela Merkel, Putin, across the board. And as an important, significant global stakeholder and player, we have supplied medicines. India has supplied medicines to a large number of countries in the world. So I would think that the manner in which we have dealt with the virus, with the pandemic so far, it gives reason for optimism. It gives reason for hope that after the lockdown phase, the opening up phase will also be a positive one. The economy we will again be able to revive. As you know, a large number of companies are moving out of China because of its aggressive behavior, because of its deceitful behavior. And many of those companies are looking at coming to India. So let me stop here. Thank you very much once again for the invitation to address you. I look forward to listening to all the other speakers and participating in the discussions that follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hello.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for what an insight that you have given on social media. It was a full, comprehensive. Nothing can be more comprehensive than this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Professor
Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, PhD.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Sir,
Thank you, Gaurav.
welcome, David sir.
And
I am very blessed that I have been his student also. David sir,
सर जैसा कि हम लोग देखते हैं, खासकर मेरा आपसे जो प्रश्न है वो हिंदी मीडिया को लेकर है कि क्या उसका हमारे जीवन पे लॉकडाउन लाइफ पर क्या असर पड़ रहा है, उसका क्या प्रभाव पड़ रहा है, इसके बारे में कुछ थोड़ा सा हम लोग बताएं.
So, do you want to be I should speak more about the Hindi media and what their effect on our life during the lockdown period? Is it so? Hello, Gaurav? Hello, can you hear me?
हाँ सर सुन पा रहे हैं?
जी Gaurav. हाँ.
जी सर. तो हिंदी मीडिया का हमारे लॉकडाउन लाइफ पर क्या प्रभाव पड़ रहा है, इस पर कुछ.
As I would like to speak something about the mass media, and as you said, especially the Hindi media and what is their effect on our life during the lockdown period. And as we know that the mass media is the basic functions of the mass media is to inform and educate the people, and for that the right flow of essential information is very much required from the mass media, so that they should curb the noise and they should stop the misinformation that is floating or working in the society. And in that manner, media should work in a responsible manner. But if we look at the worldwide the role of media, we could find that there are two types of mass media mechanism, and one is that is called the authoritarian kind of media, especially in the China, and there you could find that all information are controlled by censored by the government. And we have about a news from the China. There is a bamboo curtain that about 3,300 people died because of the COVID-19, but we do not know what is the exact number. 10 times, then it may be 3,33,000. And eventually the news may come out like the news we are getting after a long time was the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, what kind of information after that we are getting it. So it's but sometimes it creates another kind of environment that in the media we came across that these kind of authoritarian government, they have a better they show their efficiency in a better manner to control or to the COVID-19 situation in their country. And now the situation are controlled in those countries, and even they are exporting the media, the medical to the others, and the medical team to the other countries. But in the democratic countries like India, there is a free kind of media, a flow of media information, where the media can question the government. They can ask the questions that may make the government uncomfortable, but they have right to ask the questions and provide right kind of information, like what kind of healthcare facilities available to us, or the protective gears, or the mask, and the other kind of information that is very much essential during this kind of epidemic. And but again, there is another thing that do the media is following his responsibility, or doing a right kind of job is not or not. That is another kind of question. And in that manner, we can say that there is not a full kind of democratic kind of system. There are some quasi kind of authoritarian system that you can find in several countries, where some of the medias, they are instead of providing a right kind of information or to help the people, they are working as a cheerleader of the policies, and that can create some kind of problem. Because instead of lapdog, they should work as a watchdog, and they should put the questions, and even those questions may make the authority uncomfortable. Okay, so I think that in that manner, although mass media or the journalists, they have a gatekeeper kind of thing that can verify the information, that can provide an authentic information to their audiences, which the social media do not have. And that is the main problem with the social media, because there is no mechanism to verify the facts, or to verify the authenticity of the information that they are providing to the people or to the citizens. But here we have that kind of mechanism. But there are several problems that journalists are facing in during this lockdown period, or during this kind of crisis. One thing is that do they have the access to the reliable and high quality information? So that they can do their job freely and precisely, and they can disseminate the information to our citizens, the crucial information that is required. So they must have proper access to the policy makers to the health facilities providing people. So that is also very much important. Government officials, decision makers. So that is an important kind of thing. The another thing that is also important in this time, and that is basically due to technology. And as we know, the technology is increasing the surveillance, and it is an unchecked and enhanced surveillance that can it is because of to combat the spread of the virus. We are using these kind of technology, but that technology may enhance to the privacy and data rights and journalist ability to protect their sources. So this kind of situations, these kind of questions are also very much important that the society have to face, not just during this crisis, after this crisis, because sometimes these kind of the rules, decisions, they will continue even after the emergency period or even after the crisis. So, as we said that internal vigilance is the price of liberty. So, the vigilance is very much important about these issues. Then the another thing is that there are some kind of problems with the journalists, those who are questioning the government on different issues, and they may face several kind of assaults and online abuses, and that kind of we can say social media mob lynching, and that should not be right kind of thing. So I feel that all the media persons, instead of although they should create an environment where people should understand the problem, the crisis, and they should spread and educate the people that how we can fight with this kind of problems, with this kind of crisis, to disseminate the information regarding the social distancing, the information regarding how to protect ourselves from this kind of disease. At the same time, they should also ask the questions that they may uncomfortable to the government, but also those are very much important for the people to know, because proper flow of information in this crisis is very much important. Otherwise, lots of humors will spread in the society, and lot of misinformation that works in the society. To control those kind of information, I think these kind of work is very much important from the journalist, and we are looking forward towards the journalists that they should be responsible in that area. And especially as you asked about the Hindi media, so I will say that Hindi media journalists, they should more work on this area, because what I feel that in the post-truth society, especially the Hindi media that works more on the emotional kind of appeal or and public opinion for instead of policies and facts, their emphasis is more on emotional and personal beliefs, and that should not be the right kind of thing for the journalism, as per journalism is concerned. Because I am the student of journalism, so I am more concerned about that instead of these kind of things, they should work in that area, and they should be more responsible while disseminating the information. And even I think mass media is also not just like this. They are also doing several kind of good things, like they are encouraging the philanthropy kind of work, that they are issuing the helpline, disseminating the information regarding the helpline, so the people can aware about those things. And they are also appealing people to donate money and donate in different kind of philanthropy activities. That is also there. And if we talk about the second thing that is the part of your today webinar is the social media. Although it is largely elaborated by my speaker and in a very best manner, I can say. But social media, I think there are several advantages with the social media, especially to educate the people, to inform inform the people, and if it is used by the opinion leaders, those who are the professionals, experts, celebrities, and influencers in our society, if they are using the social media to educate people, to disseminate the right kind of information, then it become right. I think it is a very useful kind of thing. But at the same time, and another concept that is also very much popular nowadays, and we can Google it, that information, that term is infodemic. And that infodemic is also, it is an outbreak response, and increases the public confusion about the information that is floating on the social media, that what is the source, whether it is a trustable source, or sometimes it also creates or generates fear and panic in the society. So I think for a better kind of use of social media, we must have a proper digital literacy, that we should be in a position to find out what kind of information is untrue, exaggerated, or there are several information with the dubious medical claims that these can resolve the problems. Or in India, we will not have this kind of problem because we are in a warm environment, a warm climate, so the virus will not affect us, or these kind of information. And we generally forward these kind of information from several groups, and this kind of information disseminate in a very quick manner. So there should be, and again, this become more severe when there is an information vacuum. And if there is an information vacuum by the mass media or by the authorities, if we are not getting proper kind of scientific information or biomedical facts, or the right kind of information from the authorities, or if it is not disseminated properly by the mass media, then these kind of information, misinformation, as I said, or rumors, they will spread more drastically in the society, and at a fast rate. So I think social media, of course, is a right kind of weapon to combat this kind of situation, and to keep the moral boost of the society, to make them aware about the information, to educate them, and even to entertain them. Because if you look at the mass media and all kind of news channels, if we look towards them, then sometimes we get the depression, that the whole things will end up now. But through the social media, we can also provide them a right kind of entertainment also, and at the time when we do not have access to the other kind of entertainment mediums, then it can provide us also these kind of things. But at the end, I would to say that the mass media should be work as with the more responsibility, and even I would like to draw the attention that sometimes the racist content and that kind of information, that is also spread by the mass media, and that should not be. We can fight with this kind of situation only when we are united, only when we work as a team, and only when there is a right kind of information to us. So I think it's a time that we should learn, and we should be more responsive, both when you are using the social media as well as mass media. So this is my humble submission. Thank you. Gaurav? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
I think Gaurav got disconnected.
Disconnected. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I think that he got disconnected. There is some problem.
So maybe we could go to the next speaker if Gaurav is not on the line.
Yeah.
We know who the next speaker is. I think it is Professor Atish Parashar, who's the Dean of School of Media and Aesthetics in Bodh Gaya. So I think if it is acceptable until the time Gaurav rejoins, maybe Dr. Atish, Professor Atish Parashar can take the floor. I think the introduction, unfortunately, will not be possible except for the designation that I have given. And maybe when Gaurav comes, he can do the full introductions. So maybe you would like to take the floor, Professor Atish Parashar.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Maybe a little louder, please, but otherwise it's fine.
So a very great evening to one and all, and I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the organizers and whatever the previous speakers have spoken. They presented the entire scenario which we are facing nowadays due to this lockdown. And the tone of this webinar was set by Honorable Ashok Sanghardi. Again, it was carried out by Professor Dubey. So I would like to present my view in a different perspective. First of all, I would
There is
like
a problem in your voice.
Am I audible?
We can't hear your voice clearly.
Is it fine now?
Yeah, maybe you could hold the mic a little closer to your mouth, please.
Yeah.
Is it fine now?
Yes, better.
Yeah, it is
better.
Yeah, better.
Yeah, it's better now.
So first of all, I would like to extend my apology to the organizers for appearing in this webinar without shaving and without a nice dress, only because everyone could easily assess the basic impact of lockdown in our lives. And the second thought which came into my mind was, obviously I am not appearing in a court, so I need to, well dressed or well shaved, so that your lordship will take a strict action against me. So I just appeared whatever I am facing. So coming to the topic, as Professor Anurag Dave pointed out various things, I would start with my current situation. Now, I must share what has happened to me recently. In the wake of the spread of COVID-19, I decided to go back to Delhi, where my family resides. But suddenly, a day before my journey, Modi ji appeared on the television and demanded 21 days. Like there was no option. He was sounding like a Gabbar Singh. Hello.
Hello.
Ji, better. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Am I audible?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So he was sounding like a Gabbar Singh to me, that 21 days de Thakur. But I tried to say no. But I couldn't because of this lockdown. So I kept glued myself to the mass media and the social media, and I am trying to assess its impact on me. Actually, I am using my mass media for my informational needs. So during this lockdown period, when I say mass media means television, traditional media, conventional media, which we are using like television, newspaper, radio. They are serving actually the information purpose of the individual. And at the same time, I am using social media for various other needs. Like I am using social media like WhatsApp and Messenger for getting medicine and other essential things for my family and people who are away, quite away. So for me, social media is very important, and it is actually acting like a tool. It has become, you will be surprised to know this fact, this observation from my side, that I find social media as a motivational tool. Nowadays, I have a 13-year-old, my kid, and he's a very good dancer. And during this lockdown, he sometimes he insists to go out. So just to motivate him, I am using this tool. I motivated him to perform on song and contribute his dance performance in the form of video, and I put it on Instagram and Facebook. From there, he gets some good, you know, suggestions for the improvisation. And let me tell you, it is the fact that he has improvised a lot without any um, master, without any master guidance. Hmm. Another thing I would like to add here, that for me nowadays, the social media has become a sharing tool, which is essential to maintain my health, mental health. Because nowadays, when someone alone and someone is alone there, and the entire period is full of uncertainty. Nobody knows what is going to happen. Nobody knows about the post-COVID world. So uh, this 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 media is actually serving that purpose also, through which we are sharing and we are getting advice by the experts. We are sharing our mental condition. We are sharing our uh, mental state with the experts, and we are getting the solutions. Further, I also find this media is actually connecting me with the society and virtually reducing the social distancing. Recently, we have seen that WHO and ICMR has suggested the social distance. But since our childhood, we have studied that the human being is a social animal, so it is not possible to isolate ourselves from various other fellow people. So actually, it is virtually, social media is virtually connecting us to other fellow people. And as a media researcher, I would like to share this observation with you all, that this lockdown has created two separate category of audience. First category is audience seeker, information seeker, and this category of audience are heavily dependent upon mass media, which is not only just informing but educating the people as well, educating the people as well, and they are teaching what to do or not to do during lockdown, and various other things like importance of hygiene and about technical know-how about COVID-19. And the another category of audience is actually information disseminators, who are actually doing good things, but they are also responsible for bringing infodemic, as Professor Dave has pointed out, which is not again. Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, sir.
I
You
think
are
there
audible.
must be some problem with the audio.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I was talking about the second category of audience, which is the information disseminator, and they are actually doing good things, but they are responsible for bringing this infodemic, which is again problematic thing for us. Nowadays, issues like fake news, issues like untrustworthy information sources are creating various problems, and it is being multiplied by using this platform also, and they are not bringing a very good result for our democracy. So up till now, what I feel that obviously yet we are under lockdown, and there is no as such impact study on this issue has been conducted by researchers. But I think in coming days, that will come up with a flood of researches on this particular issue. So this is what I wanted to share with you. I again thank everybody for listening me, and I again thank the organizer for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Atish sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, you're audible. Yes.
Thank you, Atish sir, so much. It was really very comprehensively. You took you explained all the things. I'm so grateful to you. Now we have our next speaker, Professor Alok Kumar from FMS GNS University. Sir, welcome, sir. Are you able to
Thank
listen to
you.
me?
Yes,
Are you able to
audible.
hear me?
Yes,
Audible?
absolutely. You are
Sir,
audible.
we would like to hear your inputs upon the role and the impact of mass media in our lockdown lives. We are caged in our houses. So how do we take the media? Please, sir.
See, first of all, I want to clarify that I personally feel social media is a part of the mass media. So I'm not going to speak only about the social media. It is a part of mass media. Being a student of advertising and happen to also be a student of Professor P.N. Jha, as he rightly pointed out, from the advertising perspective, that yes, we place this social media into the TTL group instead of the ATL and the BTL. But one thing what we must understand is this, that media is in India is considered to be something uh, which, the mass media is considered as playing an advisory role and an educative role all over the world. During this pandemic, what we have realized that as far as the mass media is concerned, there is a challenge for especially the press media for its very survival, because all the advertisements have gone. And the other thing what is being observed is this, that a new kind of a role, what the media is into, it is a kind of a reformist role. What I expect the media to be in the days to come, a reformist role where it can help the government formulate the policies based upon the facts and the figures which it is gathering from all over India. Fortunately or unfortunately, Fortunately or unfortunately, we still believe that the Western media, whatever emerges from there, is absolutely right, and we should shun that particular idea, because when we talk about media, media is more so governed by the market, and perhaps that is the reason why in our country as well, the television channels at least have lost their credibility, thanks to the press that at least they have got something in their head. Media can serve as a catalyst for change. What we are seeing that they have started doing all these things a bit. Apart from that, they can even serve as a role model for the society, a societal leadership role the media can enter into, and of course the binding, the unifying role in the society. And I'm very proud that all our media, mass media, is definitely doing all these things. We expect the media to be correct in its diagnosis, as has been told very rightly by Professor Dave. There have been certain cases where the lead stories in the press or maybe somewhere else, they create a sort of an infodemic. And perhaps there is a section of media where you will find, especially when we go through the newspapers available every day, we find that the headline is bigger than the masthead. Now, what does it mean? It does not mean that media is a product to be sold. Definitely, it is a product to be sold, but remember, it is always inside the basic fabric of the society. So instead of creating a panic sort of a situation in the case of maybe a crisis or a disaster, it should enter into a reformist role as far as the lockdown is concerned. The guarded reporting, which is a necessity for the media, should be on the cards. And fortunately, we have got a lot of agencies, the government agencies in India, to look at what kind of reporting is there. Now, nowadays, what we are seeing in the press media, that so and so from the USA or so and so from France or so and so from China, they have done a research saying that if the temperature goes up by so and so, the corona will die. Now, is this authentic? Who has done the research? Who is the scientist? Where is the research agency? Nothing of the sort information is coming. So we intellectuals at least can find out this and try to guide the society, because it is a case of a mass crisis, and we have to manage it accordingly. The other thing what media can do is this, that it goes on to building a brand building exercise of our country, and which is being seen in the social media also, because the social media is totally open. Okay, uh, we don't have anyone to see what is happening in the social media. 90% of the news what I find there is fake, and people are seeing that. Now that should be stopped. We have to see how the media can provide an intellectual stimulus to the thinkers of the society. And it is very nice to see that during this lockdown period, which has now surpassed 1 month, I am able to see in almost all the leading press media, various academicians and researchers are coming up with their ideas, and they are excellent ideas. So we must promote such kind of a thing, where the people, not only the syndicated columns, they keep on running because they have got a market value, because we are a country of researchers. When the entire world is looking at us in the form of R&D, we are doing our best. We are the largest manufacturer of these vaccines of a variety of nature all over the world. When the world is looking at us, we unfortunately still are looking at the Western media, which personally I feel is totally biased. As far as the media is concerned, yes, it should reflect the sentiments of the people in the right manner, and some of it, they are doing it, and it has got a very responsive role to shape up the society. So we have to see, as media consultants or as media practitioners, that how our society can get the benefit. Now, as far as the lockdown is concerned, now lockdown is a kind of a situation which no one ever had imagined that what is going to take place. Now, no one is outside, everyone is inside. So inside, the entire family is there, and they are interacting with the world in the e-mode. Now, what is the role of the media? How to instigate the kind of hobbies or the kind of expertise you have, and spread your expertise to the general public for the betterment of the general public. In the West, if you see, I came across few media in the West, especially in the UK, that the laborers who were leaving Delhi, and they had coming down, they had got all plans to come down to UP and Bihar, which are the two major states of the supply of labor to the entire India. Now, when they are coming back, you see the kind of reporting what the UK media has done. Now, it represents that India has totally failed. And on the other side, when we see the reports, we have done much, much better than what the UK or the developed nations, including the US, have done. Now, that is because of some of the natural factors. We must understand, the media should educate the people that virus is a natural phenomena. It will occur as a part of nature at regular intervals. Now, what is interesting to see, we had no vaccine for the viruses of, you can say, 1918, the Spanish flu. And the same is the condition when we don't have any vaccine for the 2020 COVID-19. So where have we changed? The human beings have not changed. Our R&D has not changed. So if we are not able to do this, then the researchers, ऐसा नहीं कि research नहीं हो रहा है, the researchers are going on, but in what direction they are going on, I think we should be educated about it. So false implementation or anything fake which we are spreading, that yes, even personally, if you speak, then even I don't feel that the 100% credit of the lower rate of deaths in India, COVID, has gone only to the lockdown. Not at all, because we Indians face the temperatures right from 0 degrees Celsius to 48 degrees Celsius, and our body can accommodate if 50-degree difference over a span of 1 year, then certainly our bodies are much stronger than what we could find elsewhere. The second thing is that our values. We have left out our values somewhere. The Western countries are emulating that, but we have left it out, and we need to rethink about the ethics and the values. And perhaps media is the right entity to infuse such kind of culture. So I think the topic happens to be very relevant and very dicey also, because the role, we understand roles keep on changing, but the basic roles, they will never change. And as far as the impact is concerned, the impact we will see over the next year. What is going to be the impact? What we are seeing is not the impact. What we are seeing is just an outcome of what we call it as a lockdown. So there will be definitely a case in point when we talk about the impact of 1 year right from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Alok, sir. I think, Alok, sir, you are in the wrong field. You should have been in the media, mass communication. Our next panelist is Mr. Anirvan Banerjee. Anirvan, are you able to hear me? Anirvan?
Yes, Gaurav, yes.
Yes. So, Anirvan, how are you?
Good.
Anirvan is joining us direct from London. He is a senior manager in Accenture there. So how is the life there? I think what I hear is not very encouraging news in England. Many people are losing their lives.
Yes, Gaurav. Thank you. It is quite bad here with, on an average 500 to 1,000 people dying every day, and with infections in I think in the higher thousands or the early 100,000s.
Right.
First of all, namaste all, and my regards to the eminent panelists, Ambassador Sajanhar, Professor Dave, Professor Jha, Professor Atish Prashar, and Professor Alok Kumar. At the outset, I have to confess my field of expertise is in finance and management consultancy, and I'll probably bring a common man's perspective to this discussion. So, just talking about my life, I have a family with two very young kids, and my wife is a doctor, so she has to go out, and she can't be at home in the lockdown. So I have to manage between my two young kids, work-related reading, and news. So I'm not able to read as much as I would have liked to, on general topics. But I do. The approach that I take to keeping myself up to date, both around what's happening in the UK as well as what's happening back home in India, is for UK I primarily refer to the daily Downing Street briefing, where one or a couple of senior ministers come and they provide a briefing on the day, and then journalists ask them question through video conference, and they answer. So that's quite informative and gives you a very balanced and let's say authorized news. I also look at some of the the newspapers on my phone app, so I just to get a balanced view of left and right, I look at Independent, Guardian, and the Telegraph. I also, to keep myself up to date on the Indian side, I primarily refer to the print as a news channel, because I find them balanced. So, you get both left and right views there. And I think going back to what Ambassador Sajanhar sir mentioned around fake news spreading in India, I think it's quite common everywhere, including in the West. And I think the approach that I take to try and filter out what is authentic is by looking at both perspectives. So I identify some credible speakers or intellectuals or journalists on both sides of left and right, and then read their views and then try and make up my mind. And I think that's the power of social media, because it has to an extent democratized news. So it has given power to both to the generators of news and the consumers to pick up what they want to read and make up their own mind. So I think it's a step in the right direction. Sorry, was there a question? I guess just conscious of time. I think the key thing that I would like to add is, from being an Indian in the UK, as again some of the earlier speakers have said, Indian government's challenges in managing this in a vast, diverse population with differing geographies, climates, etc., has been very well appreciated, and the government's firm and effective handling of the situation. And I think Professor Alok Kumar was mentioning to Indian customs having become famous here. One of that is namaste. So instead of handshake, saying namaste suddenly became very, very famous during the first few when this epidemic started. I guess at the end, all I would like to say is, let's hope we come out of this soon. We peak and then start declining, and let's also hope we have a V-shaped recovery, economic recovery, rather than a U or L-shaped, and we can all get back to normalcy.
Thanks, Mr. Banerjee. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. But I think we'll get some time. We'll talk to you again. Thank you so much. Our next panelist, Mr. Bhargav Rani, is there.
Hi. Can
Bhargav, are you able to hear me?
Yes. Can you all hear me fine?
Yeah, at least I can hear you.
Okay.
Bhargav, as we know that, as you told us that you are researching on the cultural history of Banaras and Banarasi Fun. So my query is, how do you look at the local media? What is the impact of I think you are in Varanasi itself to do your research. So how is it impacting local media? Do you read local newspapers or see the local news TV channels?
Yes, I do follow the local news mostly.
So what impact or what role is it playing in our lockdown lives? How do you take it?
Firstly, thank you very much for having me over here, and I'm immensely honored to be part of such eminent panelists who have shared such wonderful thoughts about social media. It's been very informative, and I think for a lot of the participants who are here in this webinar, firstly, the fact that we are having a webinar is itself a testament to social media. That we can do this in today's day and age is itself a testament to what social media means in our lives. And so many people sitting in different paths who have taken so much great information from this, and I think that's been very great. Now, personally, I don't know debates in mass media, what is the recent scholarship or anything. I'm not acquainted with that. And that is not the perspective I can probably offer. And secondly, actually, I myself have been off social media for a couple of years and actively trying to stay away from it in some way also. But the perspective that I probably want to bring is to look at this historically and from the point of view of, say, political philosophy and history, and also in what does it mean for our everyday lives here now, time of COVID, to think about social media. And I think one of the things to remember when we talk about social media is its most fundamental unit, which is information. So social media is compiled with, like, bits and bits of, like, tons and tons of, like, millions, billions of, like, units of information that comes together. And this idea of information, or what constitutes information, has to be looked at historically. And like, for instance, if we talk about what it meant within Indian history, or what was the role of information within Indian history, it is important to remember that the colonial empire, the British Empire, could only sustain itself on the premise that there is legible information. All colonial empires around the world depend on a certain legibility of the countries that they are colonizing. They need to understand the society, they need to understand the people, and information becomes central in this whole project. And the way information is collected, like 2 centuries back, would be through, like, through informers and through other forms of media. And there is always a lot that is lost in translation. Now, in this history, that, like, slowly we have the coming of newspapers, print media, the mass dissemination of, with changes in technology, mass dissemination of, like, print media. Then another 50 years down, you have, like, video technology and video media coming in over here. And what is essentially happening is that the state has always had vested interest in the role of media. Like, the state has to understand that the way in which it accesses information and the way in which it gives information out to the people, it always tries to locate itself at the center of the whole project. And what essentially changes with the coming of social media is, at least for me, that, and this is something that I think Alokji also said, and which is a certain a democratization happens of information. Now, before, what essentially happened is that you have certain designated individuals, like a journalist, or, like, a researcher, or somebody who would collect information, who would transmit that information, and in the process, a lot is lost in translation. And the state, depending on its own ideology, whether the information suits it or does not suit it, might, like, propagate the message or not. But what essentially happens with the technological impact of the internet, and with the coming of social media in the 21st century, is that now people are generating information immediately. There are no intermediaries of, like, the journalists. They exist, but at the same time, there is also a whole ton of information being produced by individuals themselves, and they have the power, they have the capability now, technological capability, for large swaths of population to actually give out information and provide information. And this opens up a huge Pandora box. Like, it is because, as a historian, for instance, if I try to write a history of 19th century Banaras, I look at 10 sources, mostly textual sources, and some oral histories drawn from people who have heard from their grandfather, great-grandfather, about stories from Banaras. And I try to recreate a sense of what it was like in the 19th century using this information that is there out in the public domain. But now it's interesting to imagine what would historians who, say, a century later, who are trying to write a history of our own time here in the 21st century, how would they write history, and how their methodology is going to fundamentally change? Because unlike me right now, who is struggling with, say, the absence of information in some way, like, the farther I go into the past, the lesser information I have, the lesser sources I have. I need to try to make speculative hypotheses about history in order to make sense of it. But now what we're having is a completely opposite. And I wonder what historians would do, because right now it's not the scarcity of information, it is the overabundance of information that we have. It is so much information that you get completely drowned in it. And there are at an immediate level, there is, like, there are anxieties that social media produces with this inundation of information, but also at a more practical, at another historical level, what it also kind of brings into question, and which again I think Alok sir also mentioned, and some of the other professors mentioned, which is the role of the expert, or the role of the intellectual. Because there was a certain method that was involved in in determining what information is true and what information is false. But now that mechanism is being completely circumvented. We are going around that mechanism, and in this fast dissemination of media, there is something completely different happening. So in today's day and age, for me, like to think about social media, it is like a two-edged sword, and also there was mention of like social media, how, and fundamentally what's also happening is of social media is getting intertwined with politics. And it is at one level the fact that it is a democratization of information at an unprecedented scale. Internet allowed people to in some way give a platform for people to voice their opinions, which was not possible in old models of representative democracy. But at the same time, this information is often misused. The information often lacks validity, and I think the biggest problem is that the information is also monopolized. It's consolidated, which is to say that, as again Alokji also mentioned this, which is the role of the market in media. Now, with the coming of social media, in some ways, we are also playing into the whole logic of the market within the virtual realm as well, in a more intimate way than ever before. And for me, like, in Banaras, when I look at the history of Banaras and its contemporary form, and the way in which social media has made itself into such an integral part of people's lives, I'm not saying this is good, but I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, it's something that's here to stay, and it's something that we need to grapple with, and we need to be responsible about. But at the same time, we need to recognize that it fundamentally changes how we think, and how we think about what is right information, what is wrong information, how we think about what is our history, and how is it that we accept certain things as right and propagate those ideas. So I think I'll stop at that, and I'll leave it for the other participants to respond. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bhargav. It was really nice to know your perspective and the historical connection which you did. It was really amazing. Thank you so much. Our next participant is Amit Singh. He's joining us from Lisbon, Portugal. Amit, as we know, our theme is the role of media and its impact in our lockdown life. So how is the life there in Portugal? Are you also facing lockdown, or you're free to roam there?
We are very free to roam there, actually, and national emergency is going to end just after today.
So how is the media? How is the media putting up the issue of Corona crisis?
Well, I think media has dealt quite very well the way they have been handling this issue, and things are improving, and people are amazed because they are comparing cases from Italy and Spain. It's a chaos there. Whereas in Portugal, things are getting better and better. If you see the number of infected people and the number of deaths is actually very low. So I think we are improving, and things are getting better. I would like to add some point. I have written a couple of notes, so I just would like to add. And I would like to say thank you for having me here, and I also would like to congratulate the organizer for in family and much needed. And as I can say, the role and impact of mass media and social media has been there, but during the current human crisis, the role and impact has significantly increased. And these are the time when social distancing is quite a norm. And because of social distancing has led a spike in at-home media consumption. And talking about Italy and South Korea, TV consumption increased by 12 to 17%. And according to a survey published in Business Today, said Indians spend more than 4 hours a day on social media. So this is basically 87% increase from a week long before lockdown. People are communicating and consuming news with friends and family more than ever. So we can say social media is playing a very crucial role in terms of exchange, knowledge exchange, and also helping us navigating through this crisis. Discussion on social media reflects how society is thinking and reacting at this crisis. We all know that social media is used by public health experts to share their research, also by the community leaders to mobilize connecting relief work. Also, we know that online education is also been going on actually. So, but this tremendous opportunity also comes with a big challenge for the media and for the people who are going to use it. For media, specifically to Indian media, the challenge to present the fact, and for the people, avoid rumor mongering, and also people must know how to separate fact from fiction. And we have also seen there are during this crisis, there are specific behavior which is triggered by fear and anxiety. Example, panic buying. People started buying toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and it gets very normalized because people they panic and they start sharing on social media. So it became this haywire, viral. And also, as someone has said already, there has been a contradiction information and misinformation regarding COVID-19 is another problem. So I have a little different, I would be adopting a critical perspective on the current situation as far as mass media and I rather say social media concerned. So I have to see, as someone would say, free press in China would have prevented coronavirus pandemic, but it's not because there was a lack of press freedom. There's a lack of freedom of expression. And if we talk about the Indian context, and if you see India on the global press freedom ranked 140 out of 180 nations. Needless to mention, there are trolls, there are army of trolls on social media. If someone who do not share the same view are ready to be demonized by these people actually. So this itself poses a challenge to share news, especially the dissenting view on the social platform. So this provides context how mass media and social media is free to work, how much free we are in our expression without being attacked, without being censored. And also people are practicing a kind of a self-censorship. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has exacerbated this featuring division between society, among society, especially between Hindu and Muslim. Sensational news coverage about, as you all know, that Tablighi Jamaate event in Delhi has helped spur the trending topic on Twitter, Corona Jihad. News channels from GTV, G News, Aaj Tak, News 18, all they have spent a significant amount of time discussing this issue. But it could have been, those dialogues could have been used for the meaningful purpose to helping people spreading information about COVID-19. But this narrative was set and it was disastrous. And talking about the impact, you see how it's impacting. People are polarizing on the basis of religion. And as Mr. Ambassador talked about social harmony, of course, social harmony, social fabric is in great danger more than ever. And this is mass media, irresponsible use of mass media, irresponsible use of social network, of course. So we need to be careful, actually, and we need to be critical. So, and today the media, especially prime time debate, is brutal and barbaric. They have no regard for ethics and morality. So I just would like to mention a very interesting point. There was a time in the United States in 1790 when Hindus were blamed for spreading plagues and meningitis by American intellectuals. Of course, they were not. We have seen similar patterns in India concerning what is happening on the media. So what I am going to say, media is not critical, media is not challenging government data, not challenging the government policy, because what is being served in the media, people gonna believe it. For example, just data. Ramanna Lakshmi Narayan, the Vice President of Public Health Foundation India, he said 300 to 500 million Indians could be infected by the end of July. Against this,
Sir, Amit sir, please unmute your voice. Please, yes, now you are audible. Hello.
Kartikeya sir.
Sir, not.
Yes, sir.
We are not able to listen to his voice. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Amit sir. Amit ji. We are sorry we are not able to listen to you. We are not able to hear you clearly.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
Yeah. And Amit ji, a small request. We have to wind up. We are already more than 25 minutes late. Right?
Okay.
So please conclude short. Thank you.
Okay. So what I'm saying, mainstream media could have challenged, could have served people better in more logical way, in more scientific way. They had done better, but it was not actually. Media is a part of politics. It's a part of biopower, as Michael Foucault has said. They have a power over the mind. So we have a lot of responsibility to guide in the right direction, actually. So what I can say, there could have been more debate on the necessity of lockdown. We could have been done much more better. So in this point, as far as these issues are concerned, I think we need to be a little bit critical. And of course, if you see other part of media work, it's commendable. They are doing a lot of in sharing information, dissemination on information. But what I say, we need to be more responsible as a citizen and also as a human being. We have responsibility towards the nation and towards
Thank you so much, Amit ji. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Now, Kartikeya sir, what should we do? Should we take some questions or wind up?
Sir, means if you have got some questions.
I have one question from a student of mass communication, Aman Chaturvedi. He has asked that how to make the news content of mass media and social media more trustworthy. So we can trust on them, we can have a belief on them. So I would like especially Ms. Ambassador Sajjanhar to answer this. Is Ambassador Sir there? Is Ambassador Sir there?
Gaurav sir, shall I answer this?
Who is this?
I think Alok sir.
Look, sir, yes, please.
Dr. Alok sir is there.
See, the best way to make our media more trustworthy, especially the social media, is that stop cooking news and smell for the news. If you have the right nose to smell for the news, you will stop cooking the news and then it will become more trustworthy. Simple solution.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Any views on it, Ambassador sir? Ambassador Sajjanhar?
Sir, Sir,
Ashok sir, are you able to hear me? Ambassador sir? Sir, you are there.
Sir has to unmute his voice. He is on mute.
Okay, sir, can you unmute?
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, Gaurav, what I was saying is that the credibility of the media is one of the foremost challenges that is confronting both the mass media as well as the social media. Now, as has been mentioned by some of the speakers, social media, there is no guarantee for any accuracy or authenticity. And it is basically amongst, if it is different groups of people, interest groups, etc., then I think they have to have a self-control over what is the sort of information that is being shared. For instance, even in WhatsApp groups, I think you will find types of information is shared, but then there are people who are vigilant from all sides and they try to restore a balance in those in such type of groups. Similarly, on Twitter also, I think there is always a possibility for different sides to make corrections on that. In terms of credibility, what the issue really comes up for is in the regular media, in the conventional media, whether it is television or it is newspapers, the print media or the journals. And I think there it depends really upon both the, even on one particular television channel, you might find that there are three major presenters, A, B, and C. And you will find that presenter A is the credibility is lacking. In B, the credibility is greater. So I think it really depends upon the individuals. On your this platform, I do not want to mention names, but for yourself. You go to channels like India Today, you go to channels like Times Now, you go to channels like CNN, you will be able to determine for yourself. And I think if the anchors who are more credible, if there is greater TRPs for those, more people start watching it, I think that itself will be a big support as far as those particular anchors are concerned in terms of the authenticity and the credibility of the news and information. So I think there are ways the ordinary people, have a role to play in this, and I think we should take our role very seriously. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, Director, sir, should we now wind up or Kartikeya, sir?
Sir, Director, sir is there.
Director, sir? Director, sir? Are you able to hear me?
No, I think he's not there.
Okay,
he's not there. So, Sanjay, sir, should we wind up now?
I think
so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Please go.
Thank you so much for all the panelists, Sajjanhar sir, Dave sir, Atish sir, Anirvan, Alok sir, Amit ji, Bhargav ji. We had a wonderful time and we will tune in again next time. Thank you all very much. And also, I would like to thank Mr. Kartikeya Singh sir and Amitabh Pandey sir and Sanjay sir for their overwhelming support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gaurav, and thank you for organizing this interaction. I think it has been very useful and wish you all success.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, Gaurav.
Bye, sir. Bye.
Gaurav, aaja beto.
Yes. Sir. I think Sajjanhar sir is there. Sir, at the bottom of the screen, one leave call was there. At the bottom of it. गौरव जी वाइंड अप करें. हाँ
कार्तिकेय सर बस ऑफ करें ना. हेलो.
बहुत बहुत बधाई गौरव जी.
थैंक यू सर. थैंक यू सर. थैंक यू अमिताभ सर.
बहुत अच्छा. कंग्रेचुलेशंस.
थैंक यू सर. थैंक यू. अब ऑफ हम जा रहे हैं. खाना वाना नहीं खाएं.
हाँ ठीक चलिए खाना खाइए. Participants, you may now disconnect. All participants, please disconnect now. The meeting is over. The webinar is over, in fact. Participants, please disconnect. Thank you very much for joining all of us in the webinar. हाँ गुरुजी.
हमने भी आया था उसे नफीसा को भेजा नफीसा को भेजते वो 15 लोग हमने खींच लिया अबे हम भेज हमें नहीं मिला था उस सब में मिल जा रहा था लोग में नेटवर्क यहाँ से तो फेंकू आदमी ना तो हमें दे नहीं रहा साल दिमाग खराब हो रहा है